to predominantly agreed upon kind of thinking that why this is not happening. I'm going to go on mute right now, but I wanted to finish my discussion with Daniel in terms of this, what I was just suggesting in terms of the preventing a huge regional war. I'll go back to it, but just wait for the comments. Okay, looks like we have. So Daniel, so I'm glad that you are, as long as you have your wish, which is a completely legitimate wish for any country, for their citizen to live in complete 100% security, at least in principle, and peace, and not to be worrying about the things that is going on in the Middle East. If you get this wish in its totality, what I'm hearing that you would not mind how it is going to be done, and one way for it to get done. And by the way, it may get to that. I'm not sure. So you will have a multinational military force completely equipped with all of the weaponry that they could have, the tanks, the jeeps, the missiles, the anti-ballistic, all of that stuff, positioned in a way that is going to protect Israel against any intrusion or terrorist activities from Palestine and Iran, but in this case, let's say Palestine. So I think you would say, okay, at this point, I'm willing to accept it, and I'll put my, just be happy with that. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, it's just like completely unrealistic because no one will be willing to replace the IDF. But if you think that it's possible, go promote it. Do you think that anyone will sponsor it and will sacrifice their own people? If you think so, I'm not sure what will be the difference between the IDF and them. For me, it will be great because they will do exactly the same thing and we will not be blamed. And after that, when they will say, okay, we're out of here, then we will have full legitimacy and we will not be bound by the international community and the PR. So actually, yes, bring those people, try it yourself, get the same slap in the face that we get, you will wake up to reality, and then we can proceed from there. Again, yes, bring the tanks, bring the air missiles, bring the soldiers. No one will do it, Ali. I mean, it's not realistic. Like, I will not stop you. But what country will sponsor it? What country will send their own soldiers to die by those terrorists? Would you do it? Will you advocate for your country to send soldiers to die in the hand of Hamas, to go into Gaza? I don't think so. No one will die to protect Israelis except Israelis. But again, I will not stop you. I'm not saying no. I'm just saying it's not realistic. But go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mentioned this is highly. You were asking me.
Yeah. Yes, and I stand behind it. I
appreciate that. Yes. Okay, that's fine. But I think if there is a threat after World War III, there are a lot of crazy countries around. Iran, North Korea, Russia to some extent, and others who will do.
More than one at the same time, and it would be like it was like constant from like the west or northwest, and pretty consistent. And then there were like, we would get up in an anchorage that protected us from that, but there were these other cross swells coming in that would be in sets of like 5, and like 5 would come through, and then there would be like a 60-second gap, and then like 5 would come through. It's really. But it went on consistently like that for days with these like spaced out little groups of swells from.
Yeah, the swell prediction is shockingly good.
Yeah.
I got an off-topic question for everyone because I've been thinking about how to approach this or if I should or not. So my buddy's down here.
Topic answer. Go ahead.
My buddy's down here with his wife right now, and they got a almost 3-year-old son and a baby. And he's kind of told me like his son's a handful, he's busy, blah blah blah, lots. I've been watching him for a couple days at the beach, and he's autistic for sure. Like, no eye contact. Like, just the way he interacts. It's like he doesn't really say words. He has no boundaries. Like, he doesn't care if it's his parents or... Like, it's like, clearly this kid's got autism, but I think they're unaware.
How old is he?
He's almost 3.
Yeah, that's a weird thing. Like, that's a weird. I don't know how I would.
I have a niece with autism, and I knew she had it before she was diagnosed, and like it's a tough thing, right? Like,
So,
you say something, not.
Dave, my aunt and uncle did that, but they kept it from my cousin. And it's like one of the things I'm most angry at them for. So like when he was a child, he did testing and got an Asperger's diagnosis. And they were like, there's nothing wrong with him. He's perfect. And so they never told him. And now he's junior or senior at like a very prestigious high school, but has been struggling. And like they got him retested as a teenager, as like a 16-year-old last year, and they still didn't tell him.
Wait, what do you mean
I
they
think
didn't tell
it's
him?
traumatic.
Well, I'm like,
Like,
they literally didn't tell him.
Parents.
Well, how would
I know, but like
how-
so many times, Dave, we talked, like, I would be like, so, I mean, he's on the spectrum, right? And they're like, like, and then eventually it was tested. And they're like light though. It's really light, and like something about attention deficit, but like, you know, like he's perfect. Like we're not paying any attention to it.
That's
and these
so
are like,
dumb.
it's if I was diagnosed with ADD at 11, and getting diagnosed was like life changing, helpful, right? Because it changed the way I interacted with my parents. It changed kind of everything for the better, just knowing. And
knowing that I wasn't just a
yeah.
bitch.
So
Also,
like
early
we brought it up many.
intervention.
I had a chemical
It's
imbalance in
yeah,
my
for
brain. I
autism
wasn't
and
just a
all that.
bitch.
It's just one of those things.
I'm gonna come up with a new song called "I
It's
Wasn't
not
Just
nice
a
to be the
Bitch."
person to say something
It was a
either.
chemical imbalance.
Yeah, I don't know. I felt
It's genetic
responsibility to
autism.
my cousin to mention it several times, but it never turned into them doing anything because they didn't want to deal with that. They didn't want it on his record.
Why would that matter?
I can't remember their exact answer, but
Then
it
he
was like
wanted to be a
something
fighter
about
pilot
once
in
it's
the
their
Navy.
medical files, then it gets included somewhere else. My aunt is a neurologist. Like, these are not uneducated people. These are like highly educated people. Like the reason was like, I can't remember it, but it was legit. It was factual. I just don't think it justifies letting this kid who was like very high functioning Asperger's, but like for sure Asperger's, and just be like kind of bullied.
This
and
is
stuff,
called
and they just
projection. This
never
is called
be like,
Asperger
hey, yo, so
projection.
you're a little different. Like, here's why.
She's projecting her
that's the thing with
Asperger's
my
onto
buddy's
her
son.
nephew.
They're like, oh, he's just different. Like,
What do you think?
he's never done eye contact.
You
since
different.
birth.
You
And it's like,
different.
that is super
Different.
strange. Like, that's a huge red flag, right? And it's like,
Right. Is it really important to be able to address it and just teach them how to like deal with those differences? Because it's very like dealable, but
well, it is a
you just
problem.
feel like you're a fucking
And
weirdo. Like,
I know that my niece was diagnosed at like 2, which is super young.
I got
to get
diagnosed with cheeseburger.
But she went to a special school for it, and it made a big difference in her abilities. And I know, like, early intervention is one of the best things you can do for autism. And it's
And like you have to have the diagnosis to get access to the treatment.
Yeah.
Generally, it's paid for. It's state provided.
my
I mean,
sister
Dave, like
wasn't, but yeah.
how close are you to that?
So I'm good friends with him.
then you should
T-Bone
but
angry.
I
can't.
haven't hung out with him as much in the last few years because his wife drives me nuts. So, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like I should, but I don't know. I thought about maybe talking to his brother.
Yeah, I mean, if you're close with the brother, that seems like a decent approach, right? Because it wouldn't be, might not be as, depending on the relationship, might not be as weird, like, coming from the brother. And then but the brother probably won't be, like, as, like, defensive or weird about it, maybe, as the actual parent. And I would probably bring it up, like, the way that you phrase that, like, you know, I've got this niece that's autistic, and, like, you know, from what I understand, like, the early intervention was really, really beneficial for that, you know, something like that. But it's like, for if parents that are unaware, like, of it entirely, it seems like it could be pretty life-changing for the kid, too, in a good way, for them to be aware. But yeah, like, Becca, I don't understand how, like, you could be tested for that at 16 and not find out the results yourself.
Well, so I'm trying to remember. This all came to a head again, like, last year, and that was the first time I actually knew he didn't know. So, like, and by the way, like, aunt and uncle, both point the finger at each other. So they've both told me their versions, and it was like highly emotional. Like, my aunt says it's my uncle who's like, our baby boy is perfect, because she's an MD, and he says that she's anxious and, like, trying to put that on him, and he's fine. So, like, it was a bunch of bullshit. And then what actually brought it back to the surface, though, is he did not do well on practice SATs. I mean, this kid is, like, genius level. Like, he's not dumb in the least. He's smarter than me, like, no, not even close. And he couldn't get accommodations for the test without the diagnosis. So, like, I think they were telling him some semi-truth about, like, we'll do it. Like, a friend was going to do the assessment, and that way he could get accommodation for his SAT or something. And then it all kind of went quiet, and I stayed out of it from there. They're coming here for Thanksgiving, so I'm sure I'll get the latest, because the issue was, like, despite this, like, genius level, you know, he was like, he could read full English at 3, like, fluent level, not child level. So he's, like, that kind of kid, and yet despite that, he, like, was not in a position that he'd be able to get into top schools, which, like, they're Upper East Side people, so that was important to them. So I'll find out at Thanksgiving, because I'll ask where he's going to school, and they'll all tell. It'll be.
Yeah, that's rough. And I knew like, a diabetic kid. Like, our mothers were friends when I was a kid, and it was real weird, because basically the same thing happened with him, and he clearly had, like, very clear Asperger's, also super smart. And it was really strange, though, because it, like,
so is Asperger's a negative thing? If you're super smart,
he was autistic of some kind.
What is Asperger's?
And she just
then?
like told him to fuck off, and was just, like, in complete denial about it his whole life. And, you know, I don't. Last I knew of, he went to UF, and he was really, like, he was so weird and, like, socially awkward. Like, he never had any friends or anything.
Yeah, I think it's
So was that another projection?
to have that knowledge.
Yeah,
Was that another projection?
If I had been diagnosed at 11, and I didn't find out till I was 16 or 18. I'm not sure I would ever forgive my parents.
Yeah, and the like knowing when he was a kid and then retesting as a teenager, and then like still being like, oh, we're not gonna tell him. Like, that's kind of wild. It's really.
Anybody who talks like Patrick Bateman on this app, on this app or in this room particularly, I think is amazingly hilarious. Do I sound like Patrick Bateman? Is this just a projection of Patrick Bateman? Hello.
Is Finn in Florida?
No, he's not. He's just in love with me, so he's following me very closely, and asking for all my.
Do you have renters, Fish?
No, I moved my mom to my house. So yeah, like.
Oh, that's right. I remember. What channel is good to like get the hurricane stuff? It's been so long since I've had live TV. I don't even know.
Ryan Hall on YouTube is my favorite.
How about a TV channel? I just want to put it on in the background while I'm working. I don't want it on my computer.
I don't know.
Okay.
Like, I don't even know what channels are.
I assume the Weather Network would have constant update.
There's Fox Channel, like Fox News, but they have a dedicated weather channel, and there's, I think,
Okay.
a few more.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so I know they had pretty good coverage on Fox weather on YouTube earlier. I just didn't know if that was an actual channel.
So, brother, so let me. Yeah, brother. All right, so I'm asking, like, why,
Something going on with your accent,
make,
bro.
what? Yeah?
Something going on with your accent, bro. You're not Indian 100%. Just something going on.
राहुल कौन से गांव में रहते हो तुम कौन से गांव के हो अरे मैं इंडियन का दिल्ली का हूँ
नहीं कुछ नहीं पता
thing. And I'm just telling you, I downloaded it because I'm trying to get informed and I do use critical thinking. And this point of journalists, it's a talking point that Noura brought us 3 times. Now, Noura, are you aware of the fact that some journalists, not all, some journalists are also terrorists? Or do you don't believe that this exists?
So, Daniel, you're making a claim and you need to substantiate your claim.
No, I don't make a claim. I'm asking you, do you believe that some of the people that are wearing a press uniform are also terrorists? Yes or no?
It's not. You called me a terrorist.
Oh
And
my
I
God.
live
Okay,
in the
enough with
United
the
States of
victimhood.
America.
Do you want to have a conversation? So please take your victim card, put it back in your pocket. I'm asking you again. Do you believe that at least some of the journalists are also terrorists?
The way you assess who's a terrorist by your own admission is completely insane. You called me a terrorist.
Okay.
So again,
Diego, maybe you try because it's really hard to have a conversation with her with the victim
She's
card.
not playing. She's not playing a victim. She's saying that you don't have a good assessment of who is and who is not a terrorist.
I'm asking her if she thinks that some of the journalists, and it's a very simple question that any honest person could answer. I'm asking you, Princesa, do you believe that some of the journalists that are wearing a press vest are also militants?
I have not seen any evidence that any of the journalists are also militants.
Okay, if I will
Neither
find...
have I. But if you ask,
hold on.
a Palestinian, I would say yes.
This is not what I asked, Diego. Nura, if I will find and I will send it to you, will you look at it, or will you say I'm not clicking Mossad links and I'm not negotiating with terrorists? If you say that you will look at it, I will make the effort of collecting a few examples specifically for you. I will take it upon myself.
Okay. So what you can do
That's
is you
it.
can send to Issa.
Sorry if you're not interested. There's nothing else.
You know
This
what?
is the only other good
I
one.
suggest that you go fuck yourself. And you're a coward, as I said before, and I don't want to continue. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, you see what, like, she doesn't care for the truth. Diego, you can have a conversation with her. She wants to bury her head in the sand. She wants to believe that all journalists are actual journalists, that all the women and children are innocent, and all the blood are on our hands. So I will ask you the last question, then I will pass it to Diego and I'll give up. If you had a button and you could press it, and tomorrow the war ends, and no more journalists or children or women die, but also it makes Hamas surrender, will you press the button?
Fucking stupid.
That's from Nura, right?
Yes?
If I had the choice to press a button and no more children and women die and Hamas surrender, my answer to you is, will you bring back the lives of all the Palestinian children and women you already killed?
This was
Will
a
you
yes
bring
or
back
no. This was a yes or no question.
Will you bring back the 80%?
He asked you a propositional question.
Yes, we are
It's an answer
witches
of yes
and
or no.
magicians.
Will you bring back the
Noah, you have a button in front of you. Listen,
It's a yes or no question.
Noah, you have
Yes or no.
you have a button in front of you, okay? Hold on. You have a button in front of you, okay? Imagine a button. Once you press it, women and children will stop dying in Gaza and Hamas surrenders immediately. Do you press it or not? This is the only thing that I'm telling you. Nothing else happens, okay? You will not turn into like a 21-year-old, whatever, nothing. People will not come back from the dead, okay? Don't ask anything really unrealistic. The only thing that will happen is that women and children and journalists will stop dying in Gaza, and also men. Hamas will surrender and the war will end. Do you press the button, yes or no?
So what you have been doing is just accelerating their death by this genocide and by this war. Let me answer.
You're not pressing the button. Okay, go ahead.
No, here's the thing. I'm going to hand it right back to you guys. I just want to point out that everyone who's been asked this question has done exactly what she's doing, which is equivocating. Because the lives of these people are less important to them than some sort of conquest. Not one person asked this question would answer it yes or no. Not one.
But she's a Palestinian, and she talks every. Yes. I also credited to you when I started it, just so you know, Nathan.
I love you, Keith. Thank you.
Wait, you didn't.
So no, I will let you. So I will let you land again. I'm asking you last.
The yes or no question.
You come every day, talk about the women and children and journalists. You have a button right in front of you. Every minute, another child probably dies, according to you guys. Let us know when you press the button.
You will kill us either way, so the answer is no. We will resist.
Thank you very much.
They want the kids to die. They want the women to die. They want everyone They want
So,
everything.
Noah, please.
They want
That
more blood.
messed up
more
morality.
blood
One
to
second, one
flow.
second.
That's
Just let me sum it up, and then I will pass the mic. Noah, please do me a favor. Don't come ever on Clubhouse and bitch about women and children dying, because I keep the button, you keep the button, and at any point you can press it. Okay?
Anyone who doesn't press the button is not a human, right, Daniel?
No, anyone who doesn't press the button cannot complain about women and children dying, because they can stop it any minute. Anyone who doesn't press the button, the life of Hamas is more important than the life of women and children. So they should not come here and pretend that they care about the women and children and journalists. She has the fucking button. She can stop it at any time she wants. She said no.
Very well
She gave
done.
you the reason why she said no.
well done.
Because she doesn't trust you. Why would she
Moral
trust you?
philosophy,
That's
Diego,
why she has
actually
the reasoning.
sometimes, hey, Diego, moral philosophy sometimes takes answering a question yes or no. And skirting around it is avoiding the question, which doesn't show much moral fiber whatsoever, okay? So there's a whole area of research and study called moral philosophy. And anyone who actually cares about morality would know that.
There's also an area of study called propaganda theory, and what happens when she answers yes or no. He either says you're being a liar, or he says you care more about the Hamas than you care about the children. So that's called propaganda, right? And that's what the purpose of the question is meant to instigate. Like everybody sees it.
All right.
Diego, don't put words in my mouth. If she said yes, I will say great, thank you. If she said no, and I told her keep the button, but don't complain about the women and children, because you can press it at any moment. So don't twist what I'm saying. You can project what you would have done, but I actually hoped that she would stand behind her fake outrage and would actually press the button. She has a button in front of her, she could press it, and women and children will stop dying. She chose not to press that button. Diego, before you answer me, think about what happened now. She has a fucking button that would stop the women and children dying, and she does not press it. Because there are other things, whatever thing it is, that are more important to her. So she cannot come to us and complain about the women and children. That's it. That's my point.
Exactly, Diego, and that's not propaganda. And you should actually learn the meanings of words.
I think that at some point the Palestinians were working on the victim card play. It was early on in the retaliation by Israel. I think we're past that now, guys. I think we're past the victim card thing. There's like major strategic decisions being made about how to neutralize the Israeli threat to the region. And I think that the Iranian bombing was like the first step in that. They showed that they can penetrate Arrow, David Slingshot, and the Iron Dome. It's a proof of concept, and now it's really like on the Israelis to make the next move. And,
yeah, but the Iranians don't have the ball to do anything more than that, believe me.
Okay. I mean, they can't be crazy and simultaneously not be willing to do more.
No, they don't have the balls.
Well, let me.
They diminish like 10% of their ballistic capabilities just by doing that one at a time.
A couple of things, and I don't have an exact fact for these things. Number one, Iran does not have an air defense system, not at all. Like an Iron Dome or something like that, that doesn't exist. Number two, I think their power, military power, in terms of attacking Israel is overestimated. And also the question of the balls. I don't think they have the balls to do it. The consequences are grave, because if that happens, if Israel attacks Iran in a serious way, let's for a moment say the oil fields and the ballistic missiles, silos, production, and perhaps maybe presumed production of nuclear material for the peace purposes. If these three things, I don't think they'll lose the third one. because the consequences could be in terms of the mushroom cloud and radiation is too much. So let's say the first two things. This by itself, it seems to me, is almost required a serious, substantial engagement by U.S., UK, and perhaps France to also join in. So because of it, although do not underestimate the stupidity of these mullahs, that is where the danger is. The ignorance, stupidity, lack of understanding, the global kind of way of doing politics, and all of that stuff. So that's the dangerous part of it. They're stupid. They do stupid things. But I would say that those are the three things. And not having the balls to do it, I hope they're smart enough to recognize that they don't have balls in doing anything. And also, it seems to me there will be an attack on Iran by Israel. I heard someone, I'm not sure, somebody was saying that, again, the source is not credible, but I thought I should mention it, that Iranians are in a possession of the bomb, and they have the ballistic missiles from Russia, by the way, and they're able to use the weapon and have the missiles to fire, atomic bomb. I don't think so, but I would say so. Those are the facts I wanted to mention to you or somebody. What was that? Diego. So I don't think, to summarize, they don't have the capabilities, they don't have the balls, and to do it, the consequences of engaging United States, not the invasion of the country, just basically aerial attack. It's so severe, so much possible, given the relationship, collaboration between Israel and U.S. and some other European countries, that they will engage in this war, and the consequences for Iran would be dramatic and devastating.
So I think that depending, of course, these are estimates, but I think that they're pretty credible. I mean, they're within, I can't remember. I mean, it's like, I mean, I feel like it could even be days, but it's like weeks. But this doesn't include testing. This doesn't include the things that go into actually being able to effectively use one of these weapons. But in terms of chemically creating a weapon, they're extremely.
Yeah, the numbers that I've heard, this was about almost a month ago. People were talking about Iran potentially capable of producing a form of atomic bomb within a week or two if they start doing it. That is a very scary number. And again, given the nature of this regime, it's highly concerning. I think if I'm going to do this in terms of the attack in Iran, I certainly would take out those three targets that I just mentioned. If you are there, you're going to do it, get it done and get it over with. And again, it will not be without its consequences, but kind of a partial reaction, it probably causes more difficulties in the region. From my perspective, I could be wrong, but I think it'll be a serious retaliation by Israel towards Iran, and with possibility of the United States, United Kingdom, and France also being part of the operation.
If I could just mention something, because you're mentioning the nuclear aspect of it. Before October 7th, former Secretary of Defense Robert Gates wrote an article in Foreign Affairs. And in the first paragraph, he writes, never before has America faced four allied antagonists, and listed them off as Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea. And between all four of them, they could soon have more nuclear power than America. And that's former Secretary of Defense Robert Gates, writing in Foreign Affairs before October 7th.
the quantity itself is an important consideration, but the accuracy of the missiles, the technology that for delivery technology, is hugely important, and being able to target these things. I don't think Iran is capable of doing that type of precision attack. I'm not a military person. These are just the way I think about things, the things I read. So having the weapon and being able to deliver it in an effective way, they're two different things. And I think Russians, they do Iran a big favor because, number one, because of the drone that were given to Russia to attack Ukraine, and perhaps other military support that Iran has given to Russia. They expect something in return. And I hope this is not going to be an atomic bomb, expecting that to be delivered or be used, or at least being used as a regional threat in giving more strength to this cancer Iranian regime in this region.
Well, Ali, I'm glad you're paying attention, but unfortunately, this was already the plan of, this was already the plan of Alexander Dugin a long time ago in the Eurasian Union Plan. This strengthening ties between Iran and Russia have been happening ever since the war in Ukraine, actually, before October 7th, and they've only been getting stronger. So you might have this fear, but I'd wake up to the reality that because of Alexander Dugin's philosophy, these two are very close. And it's actually interesting if you look, I'll just let. Well, yeah, this is what I wanted to say. I forgot actually to make the point is that the reason that I heard, I wish I had the source here, that Israel is hesitant and contemplating and thinking perhaps they should not retaliate in any serious way because of the possibility that Iranians already have the bomb, the atomic bomb. And this, I read this somewhere, not from a credible source. I can't even give it much credence. But anyway, and I don't think that's the case. I think Israel is probably, they plan things greatly. And I'm sure they go through the process meticulously and plan it in a way that is going to accomplish whatever the intended goal is going to be.
Yes, if I may say, we cannot underestimate this. After the 2015,
it's really hard to understand you. Hold on just a second. It's really hard to understand you. If you, it's like you're far away from your mic or something.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Much better.
All right, my bad. I'm sorry. So what I was about to say is we cannot underestimate Iran because after the Trump administration pulled the 2015 nuclear deal, it's the only non-nuclear weapons country to produce around, I think it's 60% of enriched uranium. And imagine if they, all of a sudden, they start to build a weapon on that, it's done deal for Israel. So we cannot just ignore that aspect of Iran going for a nuclear strike. It's just a possibility, but I won't say for the next another couple of.
Maybe we should do something about it now.
For people who are interested in nuclear proliferation in general, but specifically with Iran, which is most of what he's focused on right now. If you look for a man named David Albright on Twitter, I don't know his handle. I think it might just be like David Albright or something like that. But anyways, he runs basically an anti-nuclear proliferation think tank, and he doesn't tweet very often. But every once in a while, he holds spaces where they break down in kind of a very dry but matter-of-fact way what they've discovered, where they think things are. It's a good.
I think even if JCPO was actually active in place and removing the restriction and the sanctions from Iran, I think they would have continued doing the development of an atomic bomb secretly, at the risk of being discovered. They would continue. This is the most desirable weapon, the biggest wish that Iran has. Let me rephrase: the Islamic Republic of Iran, the mullahs, to have this. So now it would have postponed having the agreement in place. Probably would have postponed the development of the weapon, but certainly, one can't say certainly, would have been highly possible that they would continue making the atomic bomb anyways. So even having that agreement in place, there was no guarantee that Iran would not continue, building the bomb. I mean, that is the number one passion, desire for them to have it. Them again, the government.
I agree with you.
So if you were Russia and China, who are in support of Iran, would you help or keep Iran from having this big?
They're not that stupid.
Yeah, I didn't think so either.
Russia's relationship is purely tactical. Iran's
May I pose a
stuff for some
question
reason
for the
they
room,
can't
and I don't want to disrupt the mods, so I will just, if the answer is no, then no, then I won't. The question has to do with the link, which is Daniel's link, which is, why did the Palestinian gunman kill the aid workers in Gaza if he's really a Palestinian gunman and he's just only caring about those aid workers in Gaza? Wouldn't that imply that the Palestinians are killing their own for no reason?
It's not for no reason.
It works for Hamas's advantage. It's not for no reason.
It's not for no reason. Hamas wants the aid money, and this person is the head of operation for Heal Palestine Gaza. She got money for medical treatments, and Hamas wanted that money. She refused, and that was the reason. The reason was, like, it's not written there, but when you gun someone with 90 bullets in the middle of the street, you want to send a message that if you, for other organizations, that if you don't pass the money, that will be your faith.
So the difference will be Israel investigates when things happen. Let's see Hamas's in-depth. They said they'll investigate what happened. I'm waiting for the report.
How does a gang of thugs investigate?
Now, I would like to point out that the editor of the Jewish Chronicle, I sometimes forget his name. It's Wallace Simons. Jake Wallace Simons. This guy has repeatedly made extremely coherent public inputs, to the British press, the Daily Telegraph, that since I would say at least March, because I remember him posting it in March. I can find the link. I'm pretty sure it's either March or April. I think it was around March 15th of this year, if I have to remember my own calendar, that the Hamas Health Ministry has been very clearly fabricating numbers using any method, like statistical science. I mean, Yaakov, you're much better at statistics than I will ever be. Please, I'm going to have to pull up that link now that I think about it. Why? Isn't this well known that it's kind of like Ali was trying to say, it's been IDF versus Hamas Health Ministry for a long time, like at least 6 months.
A lot of people who want to be emotionally driven about this situation while ignoring all of the other suffering in the world, but only specifically focused upon the Palestinians, while the other suffering in this world, they're looking at facts and evidence, using logic and reason. It's just emotions. And their emotions are triggered, so they're going to flail around in flight or flight, just so people can hear it. But they're not sitting down and looking at real evidence or real analysis, right? Like, a lot of people just would rather be emotionally driven about this while ignoring all of the other suffering that.
So I found the PTR. I'm going to put it in my PTR because it was March 16th of this year. The headline is, "This could be the devastating proof that Hamas is faking its death figures." March 16th, 2024, Jake Wallace-Simons, like 9 p.m. British Standard Time. I'm going to link it in the chat, and I'm going to let anybody else who is, well, obviously everyone else's stage is much smarter about this issue than I am. I'm going to let everybody else just take the mic.
Andrew, they also, Hamas published, not just statistics, they published a list of casualties with a name and age and gender. They published it twice. And then people, like, it's still available, by the way, and people downloaded it and compared the two lists. And they saw that people that were on the first list of casualties listed as 19, on the later one, their age was updated to 18, and those that were 18 to 17, basically they wanted to add more people to the category of children, which is under 18. So they kind of started manipulating some of the ages there, so the number of children would be higher, because a child, according to the definition, is anyone under 18, and Hamas recruits people that are under 18. And the people that are crying about the women and children, they say nothing about it. They have no problem with Hamas using children. They would care when they die. And not only children, but also 19-year-olds. And the data is still available. If anyone has the means and wants to do the same checks themselves, they can download the Ministry of Health the Telegram channel. They publish like information and also this list, so they can do it. The thing is that finding out truth takes time and takes money, and fabricating is very easy. Like, I can now say, there are 20,000 children dead. It's very easy for me to say. In order for you to know the exact number, which is 355, you actually need to spend some time and go and check. And, if I would now be on stage and for 1 minute give you a lot of fake information, it will take you like an hour or two to kind of debunk just 1 minute of my bullshit. And by the time that I will have time to debunk it, you will already spew another like 50 lies. And this is what's been going on since the beginning of the war. The amount of information that we have been bombarded with is something that no one can actually go and verify.
Yes.
Sorry, Daniel. I didn't mean to. I sound like I've, it's much more interesting when you say it, because if I were to say it, I literally just read it 6 months, and you gave me a much better date. That is once half a year ago. It's been a full and broken now.
This is kind of interesting, Daniel. This takes me to the New Testament, and in the book of Matthew and Mark, there is a genealogy of Jesus Christ. So I'm just going to be quick.
Don't tell me the end, because I didn't read it yet, so no spoilers.
No, that's okay. That's so you can read it. I mean, that way. you can look at it. Anyway, the point that I'm trying to make in the book of Matthew, and I'm going to probably not get it completely right, in one of the books, Mark and Matthew, in Mark, the genealogy of Jesus is 23, starting from David, going all the way to Joseph on the top, and then Jesus. Then you look at the Mark or Matthew, there are 43.
Goes from Abraham, right?
Actually, in the Matthew, the one with the 43, I'm just getting the two confused. The genealogy of Jesus at 43 starts with David again, and also ends up with Joseph and Jesus. If you compare the two genealogy, not a single name apart from Jesus, David, and Joseph appears in the genealogy given in these two Gospels, which is an astonishing, contradiction. The point that I'm trying to make is kind of interesting how people write things, interpret things, and come up with things. And the Christians will give you all kinds of interesting interpretation why this is the case. But none of it, and when I asked them, well, okay, I kind of understand your interpretation. Why is it and how come these books, they did not give you the underpinning or the genesis for the genealogy that they are given? So presumably making things up is in human nature, and we see cases like this, all the time. I wanted to give you this example because that's such a glaring contradiction in the New Testament that it really makes you pause.
Well, within religion, we can see a lot of this, and it's just the way that dogma and doctrine works over the years, and this was just to satisfy prophecy. So that makes complete and total sense. But if we were to look at what's happening today, we actually see, like, if you look at Prigozhin's bot farms, he's dead now, but his bot farms helped with Brexit. And they're probably still helping push a lot of these rhetorics and narratives that we are viewing online. Russia is very good at propaganda and subversion, masterful at it. It's almost like they've been studying it for a long time, like since the Cold War or something. And you mentioned the connection between Iran and Russia, and we see the connection between Iran and Hamas. So I wonder if they're getting some help from the masters of propaganda in Russia and with those bot farms. And then I think about TikTok. And if you think about TikTok, like anti-Semitism and anti-Semitic content actually accelerated after October 7th. And the amount of Palestinian content heavily outweighs the pro-Israeli content. And so we can see that this algorithm is actually controlled from within China. And China is also really good at propaganda. So I would think that perhaps, and just perhaps, Hamas is actually getting quite a bit of help from Iran, who's getting quite a bit of help from Russia and China with propaganda. And Russia and China are typically two of the greatest countries in the world with propaganda and subversion.
So go ahead.
One of the thoughts that I had, when Hamas launched this attack, and they knew, like, what would happen, okay, taking 250 hostages and the brutality of the things that they did, and they broadcasted, they knew that there would be retaliation, and they also knew that there are no shelters for the Gazans, and they knew that people would die. But they also knew that I don't know how to define it, maybe it's the press, will be on their side. And that is quite a big gamble because the entire thing is PR, okay? Hamas they cannot win the IDF or Israel except with this PR. And, following what you said now, it makes you wonder, how did they know that it will actually work, that all those useful idiots will fall for this propaganda and that it will get so much support for all this atrocity propaganda and all this bullshit. It didn't just happen by itself. Like, I can't believe that it just happened by itself.
No, it didn't. And I think that, like, with different platforms and bot farms, but I mean, like, specifically the platform of TikTok, you can actually look at the data of the user's behavior on there.
and they might have found something that if they actually flooded the platforms, the social media platforms, with enough content, that it might have manipulated some of the journalists as well. So like this is something you can actually look at if you're from the control tower up above on one of these platforms, the behavioral analysis of the users is incredible. And there's a lot of psychometric data there to pull from. So they very much might have made a gamble here and thought that they were going to have enough eyeballs looking at their phones that they'd be able to manipulate the rhetoric and the.
So, dude, I'll give you some testimony about that. When October 7th happened, I was in Washington, D.C., and I had just spent 2 weeks. I signed a contract. 2 weeks I was living there. The week before, the government almost shut down because of funding for a different war, the Ukraine war, right? So now I remember a lot of people who worked on that thing they called K Street. K Street being what is called, it's like where all the lobbying people work. They were just, because a lot of those people were kids, you know, I mean, I'm not a kid. I'm way too old to even spend any time on TikTok. Like, I mean, I'm not young. I'm not old either, but like, there were little kids in my definition of the word who were like, you know, 22-year-olds, 23-year-olds, 24-year-olds, 27-year-olds glued to TikTok and then starting to spew propaganda. I remember I put on for my roommates from K Street, my flatmates, my suite mates. I mean, if their names, it's not even like I'm telling a secret, right? Like, the thing is, like, these people who worked at great places like Cato Institute, I would play at Sky News, which is, you know, British news. It is technically owned by the Arab world, but it's Sky News. And they were showing the Hamas speakers talk, not just like I'm talking, where it's like I'm talking through an audio app, but with their faces and body language and everything. And then they would say, oh, he's not lying. He's not lying. He's not lying. And I'm like, what? That's Hamas. Why are you telling me he's not lying? People that age, they're just brainwashed. A lot of the kids in DC who try to run the government. It's really sad.
Yeah, not only that, before, you know, and I'll say between the windows of 23 to 25, they do not have a fully developed prefrontal cortex. So they're not able to actually rationally, critically think. And that develops over time. And so, yes, people below the age of 25, because of their underdeveloped prefrontal cortex, are very easily manipulated.
Yeah, I know. It sounds like you're... Oh, and I'm not trying to dox anybody, but, like, these are people who have pretty serious positions in D.C. Like, they really were the people who were rooting for Biden. The people who said Biden was so good, doesn't have dementia. No matter how many G7 meetings Biden attended and showed up looking up kind of drunk. Like, these are the same people who were simping for Biden suddenly said, like, oh, Hamas isn't lying. They'll just make it up on the spot just because they think it's bad for Biden. It's really sad.
I stick out of the, I think that some people are clouding their judgment by looking at the presidential election and thinking that that's all that matters. There's much more that's going on in the world than just the presidential election alone. So I'll just stick away from talking about that. But yes, these platforms very much easily manipulate young people, and also anxiety is on the increase in younger people because of social media use. So I would think that knowing that, I would also try to trigger anxiety with what I would show on the platform in order to manipulate these young people if I wanted them to think a certain way. And I'll just land it there. Like, a lot of people, if you have any kids that are 25 or younger, it'd be good to teach them about philosophy and logic and reasoning, so they can actually critically think when they're.
Well, I don't have anything to add to that. I mean, Daniel is the one who always likes to say it's going to take a few generations for people, the kids in those countries, to get whatever is in their heads out of their heads. The anti-Semitism. It's going to take many generations for them to realize they were fed absolute lies. And I don't know.
Hey, Abby, you just noticed you're on the stage.
Yeah.
Hello. Good to see you.
Good to see you. I came in for a little bit. I'm headed to hockey tonight.
Okay.
How are you, Ali?
Great, thank you. And you?
I'm good.
Okay.
So, how is the conversation going?
Well, it's going as you know. Maybe.
Hi, Abby.
Hey. Hi, Abby. Maybe Daniel in a better position to give you a quick summary of this. And go ahead. If not, I can do it.
Oh, they drove me crazy. This is what I can say. Today was a rough day with a lot of but Ellie, you do it because I'm already I checked out.
Well, I have some good news. The guy that went after, I don't know if you saw the videos in New York. There was one of the executives from the Democratic, forget the name of the organization now. It's like a Melman's think tank and political organization for Jewish Democrats. It's a pretty big organization. It's like the Democratic version of the RJC. The guy was on October 7th.
What is RJC?
Republican Jewish Coalition. So this is the Democratic version of it. And the guy was walking in New York with other pro-Israel people on October 7th and got attacked by a mob of pro-Hamas demonstrators and got beat up, bloodied his nose and everything. And they just started to find who some of the people are. And one of the guys that was screaming, "Go back to Poland, you're inbred," I mean, all kinds of horrible things screaming at him, got fired immediately from his company, and they're making arrests. So I just read that before I came in here. So, I mean, you can protest and say all you want, but if you start hitting people and bloodying them and, or you say these outrageous things and the people that you work for see that, they're not going to like it. And if you break the law, you're going to get arrested. So,
yeah, that takes me to your last line in the First Amendment. It says again, I'm trying to remember, the right of people peaceably to assemble, to petition the government for a redress of grievances. So you have a right to petition, but you have to do it peaceably. And that's
actually, Ali, that's actually lobbying, believe it or not. The petitioning of the government is the foundation also for the right to lobby.
Right. Again, the First Amendment itself is just fantastic. Within this one paragraph in the First Amendment, there is more meat and flesh and consideration for basic human rights than it is in the entire constitution of Iran, for example, which, by the way, the emblem to it is a verse from Quran, and the rest of it filled up Sharia laws and the rest of it. Thank you for saying that, Abby.
I just listened to, God, I'll figure out a way that I could put the link in the chat. Speaker Johnson spoke. He was here in my city on October 7th. And in his speech, he's a very strong man of faith. And he talked a lot about how our Constitution and our founding documents say that we are created, not that we just exist, and it's all based on God, and that God is very much part of the establishment of the country. And if we lose our faith in God, whatever religion you are, that it becomes tyranny. Then you end up with a king, or you end up with no God and communism. It was a very, very interesting speech that he gave. I think he's given this speech before, but he goes through so much of our founding documents to prove that our founders were deists and they believed in God and that the country was founded that way.
A couple of comments. The mention of religion and creator is only in the Declaration of Independence. And I know, Abby, the civic constitution, knowledgeable. But in the constitution, which is not the constitution, and again, I know you know that. In the constitution, the word any reference to any kind of a spiritual concept is in the First Amendment, and says religion, and that's it. And basically saying that Congress shall make no law establishing and respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, and the right of the people and to abridge the right of people to free speech and the freedom of speech and that of the press. And so again, I'm saying the top of my head because it's such an important concept that I think as an immigrant to this country, I just wanted to make sure that I understand, at least in principle, what's being said. And so the word, there is no Jesus, in the Constitution. There is no
There's God.
Jerusalem.
God is
None of
there.
that. The God is the word God. I am not sure. It might be, but in terms of the first one,
What's our Pledge of Allegiance? What do we
Ali,
say?
your atheism is a part of this too. So, like, your atheism is like a freedom of religion, right?
Yes,
No, I
so
understand that, of
atheism
course.
is, but the country's founded by deists, and it's founded with the concept of God.
And I think that if you take into account the deists, Thomas Paine, Jefferson, which basically, particularly Paine, they were a deist. If they had the knowledge that we have by science, I mean a bucket of the things that we know, biology, medicine, cosmology and all of that, I suspect their perspective on the creator or the deist with a D would be a different kind of take. Again, I'm just guessing. I might be not right about it. And that is why they went completely out of their way to keep this religion, out of the Constitution. That so becomes a secular, democratic way of, at least in principle.
So he argues the opposite of that. I've got to find this because they
Yeah,
did
sure, please
record
do.
it.
I'll be interested to look at
He
it.
he gives many examples of where God is part of the founding of the country and is in the essence of the country. Let me find it because he makes a better argument than I do.
So the word creator, actually, again, top of my head, somewhere in the Declaration of Independence says, what is it?
We're created. We don't
No.
just exist. That means
sure,
that God created.
We believe these truths to be self-evident, and people are endowed by their creator to certain rights. These include life.
What's self? So go through the words. What's self-evident mean? Define.
You don't have to have any. It's the premise.
It's no question whatsoever.
It is. But that doesn't.
No. Ali, just as a friend or just as somebody who's on stage, and the mods can, do whatever if this is somehow not said right, but self-evident means that it's evident without explanation. So, for example, if I just point to a cube that looks like, if I just point to the globe, like the globe, I keep telling people that Zionism is just like saying the world is round. A lot of the times it's just saying that kind of thing. If I say the world is round, but then you're arguing that it's not perfectly round, there are these mountains called the Himalayas, and the mountains called the Himalayas make the world technically not round. That is what self-evident means. Obviously, it's self-evident that the world is round because we have astronauts going up into space and seeing that the world is round. That is more what self-evident means, and I'm taking my time, so sorry, Kelly, sorry, Abby, sorry, Daniel.
Take us home, Abby. Take us home. Get this one out of the park. It's a home run.
Yeah, saying that a baseball is spherical, that is also self-evident because it's a ball. Like it's a ball. It's not perfectly spherical because very few things in reality are perfectly spherical. But this is exactly what these people argue. They say, oh, baseball is not round. There are laces on it. How can it be round if there are laces? It's that kind of strange argument. Do you understand, Ali John? Sorry, I thought I was being a little harsh, but Abby's a lawyer, and Abby can explain it way better than I could. But I'm glad that she pinpointed that word. But I still feel like intuitive understanding of it is different than just hearing the definitions over and over and passing some tests on it. Like a lot of these citizenship tests, they are kind of like IQ tests, right? They're not like showing that you really understand.
Sorry, I missed it all. I lost my Wi-Fi signal but couldn't get to my phone. I have no idea what these tests.
I never had to take one. I was born here, but go ahead, Ali.
Yeah, so we were talking about, for example, the first comment that we believe, or true, we believe is truth, is self-evidence. And there are three of them: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. If you look at the first statement, is a premise, is an axiom, is something that the author claims that they're self-evident. This is similar to the first axiom in the Euclidean geometry, which it says, if you have a point, you can only draw one line that is going to be through the first point that is going to be parallel to the first line. There is no proof for it. The axiom, and if you take the same idea to a convex and concave, or not to concave and convex surfaces, which are not flat, the whole story changes. It becomes a different geometry. So the axiom itself, there is no proof for it, but the entire geometry of the Euclidean geometry is based on that. So that it would be similar that somebody says these are self-evident. I don't know that.
That's fair.
What is your definition? What is your that's all.
That's fair. No, because you're actually saying, I'm trained in mathematics, and I took many physics classes, some of them at Harvard. I don't have any qualms with like geometry ideas where something can be locally flat. Like a sphere is definitely locally flat, but not globally, right? So local to global kind of stuff. In math, they'll call it nakayama-rana. It's like Japanese, but yeah, I agree.
Okay, thank you for that. Again, we don't even have to talk about the sphere. That's just two-dimensional space, two-dimensional plane. So that is an axiom, cannot be proved, but the entire geometry is built on it, and it works. You drive your cars, you build your homes, you go to the moon, and the rest of it. But there's no proof for it. And that's the point I was just trying to make on the self-evidence concept.
Yes, you're focusing on the fact that it's we the people of the United States believe in the parallel postulate. You, the people in the United Kingdom, because Britain had to separate from the United Kingdom, right? You, the people who live under the monarchy, you people may not believe it because you may have fancy things that we don't. Like, it's well known that the British monarchy always had very fancy things. And if you go to the Spy Museum in Washington, D.C., they explain a lot of this. So it seems like that George Washington was actually a master spy.
Okay, I'm checking out to sleep. Like I had enough. I was just like, there was this woman in the chat now, Daniela, talking about her precious kids that are advocating for ceasefire because they are peacemakers. And I told her that they're useful idiots. And of course, she protected them, and I didn't mean any disrespect. But then I went to a Twitter feed, and this third tweet that I saw was her calling us subhuman, like the Nazis did. So I cannot blame her kids for being useful idiots when their mother is using Nazi slurs against Jews. And there's a guy on the chat, 44, that is advocating to crush the heads of Jews. So if anyone is interested in reporting them, go ahead. I will check out. I had enough of disgusting human trash people for one day. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. I hope you get some rest.
Good night, Daniel.
I have to say, but before you leave, in case you are Ali, I just have to say this too. I mean, man, there was definitely a lot of trash in here, but the conversation ended, I think, on a really good note. I think you were a big part of that. Ali and Daniel, you've spent so much time in here, so thank you, you guys.
Thank you, everybody. I'm
You
exhausted.
too.
And Kelly, thank you for making me laugh. I needed that a few times today.
You're welcome. I have no historical knowledge, so at least I can offer.
I remember one schnitzel that got stuck in my throat when you said, "Oh, can it be any more retarded?" And I was like,
I think it was proven that, yes, people could be more retarded.
yes. He's like, "Hold my beer."
Can you be more retarded reminds me of the phrase saying, where is north of the North Pole? Such a thing doesn't exist. I guess if a person is retarded, then he's retarded. What I wanted to do, Kelly, if you don't mind, and I could not, in all fairness, remember the two phrases that they mean a lot to me, and I wanted to kind of read them to you. Probably should not take more than 30 seconds for the sake of accuracy. I thought I've memorized them, but it's getting too late here. This is from the Declaration of Independence.
I'm sorry, I cannot. Kelly, can you remove me to the audience? I cannot remove myself for some reason.
Yeah, I'll do it for you.
Good night.
Good night to you.
Okay, so this phrase in the Declaration of Independence, by the way, this is not the law of the country, but it is certainly was the most important paper, including in addition to Thomas Paine's book, The Age of Reason, and including to the Federalist 64 essays that they were done a year before the Constitution was ratified to make a point why the Constitution should be accepted by the 13 colonists. So here's the phrase that is amazing. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Now, philosophically, one could ask, what do you mean by happiness? What is pursuit of happiness? What is liberty? So on and so forth. But nevertheless, it doesn't take on a personal level, it doesn't take a brain surgeon to somehow give a good context to what happiness, pursuit of happiness means to me individually. And all of you can make your own kind of decision what this mean to you. And the last one I wanted to say, this is preamble to the Constitution. Keep in mind, I'm comparing this to the Constitution of Iran, which is a verse from Quran, really a horrible one. Here's the preamble to the Constitution. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessing of liberty to ourselves and our posterity do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. I think that's a beautiful, preamble to a great document. Anyway, that's all, Kelly. I just wanted to make sure that I read it correctly.
Ali, you mentioned Iran's. What is theirs?
Well, it's a verse from
Iran's
Quran.
Constitution is based on the Constitution of Belgium. Okay, it's a translation of the Belgian Constitution, and I think what
I think what he's saying is that there are religious undertones in that مشروطه. Is that what you're saying, Ali? چون دارین راجع به مشروطه صحبت میکنیم.
Yeah, I'm okay with the current politics of Iran and the way the government operates.
I'm sorry. Say that one more time again. You're okay with the government of Iran?
Sure. Let me just back up a little bit. Can you please, if you don't mind, rephrase your question? Tell me again.
Are you talking about the constitution during the monarchy of Mohammad Reza Pahlavi?
No.
Or are you talking about the one now?
The one now, the correct one. Yes, of course.
The correct one now?
No. I meant the current one, the present constitution.
What is the constitution today?
Well, they call it the constitution. I can post it. You can look it up. The point I was trying to make, that preamble to this constitution is a verse from Quran. Okay.
And you're comparing it to the United States Constitution?
Look, I am an atheist. And I'm completely an anti-Islamic Republic of Iran. I am trying to show the richness of Constitution of the United States in comparison, on contrast to the current, recent, present, which is written by the mullahs and the cronies, and that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I just want to make sure. Because there's many, as you know, there's a lot of discussion regarding when Iran becomes free of this republic, the people, there's a debate always in the rooms. The people that are Mashrutecha, which is constitutional monarchy, and they want to go back to the constitution during the era of the Pahlavi, which at the time is the Constitution of Belgium. Okay, so you know what I'm talking about. It's the same Constitution of Belgium at that time. There's a lot of debate about going. Now, there are people like Amir Abbas Fakhravat who actually believes that the Iran should have a 3-branch government like the U.S. Constitution. He apparently wrote a book called Spirit of the Constitution, which is most likely written by AI or what have you. But anyway, he has these notions too. And then you have other people that really want more of a socialist Democrat party, like countries like Sweden and the Nordic countries of Europe. So there's a lot of, debate about what kind of government that Iran should have post-regime. However, I believe that the one common goal we should all have, irrespective of our views of what we want after, is that we should get rid of this regime. That's it. Ittihad. I'm sure you speak Farsi. So to have solidarity to remove this current genocidal regime. That's
right. I agree with you. And my second hope is to have, we are in agreement. I think you probably misunderstood what I was saying.
Which is, I'm glad. Thank you.
Sure. No, I am not in favor of having, the princess, whatever his name is, Reza, to come back and have another king, a constitutional monarchy. I'm looking for a democratic and secular regime to have. This is more of a wish, and
that's a really good thing. I agree with you, and I don't have any problem with people that don't want a monarch. But let me ask you this. Okay, let me just ask you this.
Can I finish just one more thing, and I'll just be
okay. Sure.
Let me think what I. You have to forgive me. I forgot to make the point because go ahead.
Okay.
And then I'll come back.
My question is a lot of times the people that are not from Iran, they don't maybe understand that even that you don't approve of Reza Pahlavi, which is fine. It's okay. But let's just say that when he comes and says, for example, we all have to band together and remove this current regime, and I will be that vehicle, that vessel, okay, that takes us back to our country and we regain our country. He has said on numerous occasions that he doesn't want to be king, that he doesn't want to establish an absolute monarchy, and that he believes that the people will have the right to vote, and he says we'll have a referendum, right? So if that's the case,
I just hope that all of us Iranians, irrespective of what our beliefs are for post-Islamic regime Iran, we just maybe just support him until we get there. And I'll tell you why we need to. He is the only internationally recognized Vaznei siyasi, meaning political weight. He's the only political capital Iran has. We don't have anybody else right now. And so we do, I'm sure that the leader of the next Iran is in those prisons as soon as we let them out. But right now, just to go back and for someone who knows how to speak to the heads of the other countries and to be able to negotiate with the EU and the parliament and so forth, I think Reza Pahlavi, Crown Prince, might not be the worst idea that we've come up with in 46 years. In the interim, that's what I'm saying. To actually to dislodge this regime and overthrow it for the genocidal power that it is. Only. What do you think?
So I really, honestly, don't care who is going to become the leader, Shah or whatever, or leader of Iran, as long as they are going to have a secular democratic regime in Iran. It's easier said than done. If you look at the European countries and America, the project of democracy is being in making for 200 years. Democracy is not just go and vote. That's the easiest part of it. The hardest part to have the system of checks and balances. I'm sorry, do you mind if I'd like to hear what you have to say, but let me just finish in here. So it is going to be, where was I? So thinking about having a democratic, secular regime in Iran, it requires a lot of work that is taking European and America at least 2 centuries, with great thinkers like Thomas Paine, philosophers before them, the founding fathers who were extremely educated. So when the claim is a Middle Eastern country can be a democratic country, again, voting part is the easiest part. Having the 3 branches of government, equal branches of government, judicial, executive, and legislative branches, and system of checks and balances, and other things that is a requirement. And in general, we have not seen this idea taking hold in Middle Eastern country. The closest you can come to it is actually Israel. And you can, at least in principle, you can say it's a secular democratic a country, although there were some legislative have been passed that kind of, it diminishes the role and importance of the judicial, the Supreme Court actually, which is not a step in a right direction. So that is one example that we have, and the only example actually in Middle East, which is a great thing. So those are my thoughts about your question. And again, that.
Except the only thing is that Iran is 82 million people, and 82 million people who has a 2,500-year history of kingdoms and having a king and a monarch. So the problem is, while I agree that the 3-branch democratic government is perfect for the United States, it's not for that region. Yeah, even as you can see, Israel, okay, it's a newly formed government, doesn't have 2,500 years of history, but it started the correct way. We cannot really do that. Maybe, I don't know what you know about Iranian history and Padishahai Iran. I don't think that's gonna really. Yeah, I don't see that. The closest thing we can get is a constitutional monarchy. But since it doesn't matter to you anyway, then.
So let me tell you.
What do you know about Iran?
Just one question, if you don't mind. Let's stay on the topic in here.
Wait, who's talking right now? Hold on.
The topic is your question. You're saying that.
Let me see who asked the question. I'm sorry. Just 1 second. Who asked the question?
Sure.
Was it you, Andrew?
I asked the question.
Oh, dude. Oh, okay, dude. You asked the question. Well, I think I think Ali's Iranian, right?
Yeah, that's why I asked it. It was sarcasm.
Oh,
So yeah, well,
I'm also
I
Iranian.
think I know a dude for a long, long time. We're good friends actually in the clubhouse. So now the reason Israel was in a quick manner being able to establish a secular democratic regime, because the immigrants actually coming from Europe, which were majority of people, they already were exposed to a democratic secular systems. They came with the knowledge of how the system works, how it should work. So in a quick manner, quick way for their own government, establish that. That is different from a group of people that actually being in the Middle East and no exposure to the European and American, government, secular laws. So that's the difference. The reason why Israel it's so advanced in terms of it's what is it called, the formation of the government and the democratic system that they have in place. And by the way, another kind of adding the legal system in Iran is based in the French legal system, and I'm sure you know that it's almost verbatim. And now that was
that's why I said Belgium. Yes, it's Belgic. Yes, that's.
Yeah, well, I'm saying France. But nowadays, of course, if you read the
France,
Constitution, you feel that France, yes.
Napoleonic law.
Yes, France. So we have two systems of laws, common laws, which is the British one, and the other one is the French laws. I don't know exactly what you call it. I don't think I've heard Napoleonic laws, but something to that effect. So, and the last thing I wanted to say, which I usually forget to say the last thing, but maybe it's a good thing. So anyway, I just wanted to give a reason. You said there is hope because the Jewish people have done it and others in the Middle East can. I hope that could happen. But the work has not been done. And it takes a long time to get that type of thinking about the basic human rights and the systems.
You know that Iran was the first country to have human rights. Do you know anything about Iran?
Yeah, well, I do. I understand.
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
you know that, right?
Right, yes.
Okay.
I'm not trying to disrespect Iranian people. I think
No, of course not. I understand.
Educated people, right?
Of course not.
And I think probably it seems to me if a secular democratic country has any kind of hope to take hold in Middle East, I think Iran would be a fertile ground for it to happen. I would say that's a good chance just because of the nature of the people that I know they're possible. Again, we have this Islam kind of
yeah, we are in that region. Yeah.
To deal with. So anyway, that's.
So let's hear from Stephen. Stephen, did you want to say something?
Hi. Yeah.
Hi, Stephen.
Hi, Miss. And hi, everybody.
It's actually misdemeanor, but that's okay. Stephen, I see you have in your profile. You have Spirit of the Constitutional Law. Is this the Fakhravar's book?
Of course, it's not a question because you know who the author is. So, what do you want to know about this book?
No, I just asked a question. I just saw that it doesn't say book. It doesn't say the author's name, and you didn't put it in quotes. So I wasn't sure, which is why I'm asking you. Yeah.
But before you said something about the book, and you knew the name of the author, so I think.
Yeah, but you didn't state it on your profile as a book. You just wrote it, and you didn't put a dash and put the author's name. So.
I heard
so
you.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I heard you talking about some kind of constitutional monarchy for after this regime is gone. Okay, I hear a lot in Clubhouse talking about these things. Okay, what are we going to do after the regime is gone? But what a lot of people don't talk about is how are we going to overthrow this regime now, right now? What are we going to do? Are we just going to sit and hope that some miracle happens and let us be free, and then we will decide what kind of government we want? So you mentioned the name of the Reza Pahlavi, which is the prince of the previous king, but he has had like 46 years, and all he has done is absolutely nothing. And how is he going to overthrow this regime when he is opposing every method that could overthrow a dictatorship in this country? You know, when you have a dictatorship in a country, you can only there are only two things that can overthrow a dictatorship government. One is to use guns. People use guns and fight with the regime and overthrow it. And the other is the military intervention of other countries. And Reza Pahlavi opposes both of them. And how can he overthrow this government if he is opposing both of these methods? And how is he going to be king afterwards? So this is a big question that people don't talk about. They just want to talk about how we are going to govern the country after the regime is gone. But nobody is giving a solution how we are going to overthrow this government.
I mean, you make a very good point, Stephen, and this is a conversation that's had often. Hi, El Norma, how are you? And we have this debate constantly. As you know, you must go into Farsi rooms, so I don't have to tell you. That is true. We have a serious problem. We also have a very big problem with the reformists, who I refer to as the Islah Talab, who are worse than the regime. You know why? Because they come in a different outfit, in a different, costume, okay? You don't know who they are, yeah? At the same time, they hate the regime and Khomeini. But in the same breath, they don't mind putting somebody like, in a way they always say secular, but it's not secular. They are the same as a regime with a different face. They don't want in hukumat. They want something like this hukumat, just different. Okay, just a little bit here and there. Islahat means to tailor it a little bit. They don't want what we want. We are the people that most of us either live in diaspora in Europe and so forth. We see this destruction that Islam has brought to Iran. So we want a full regime change. Okay, secularism. That means have your own religion. Please don't bring it in the country. I know this is why one of the things that Fakhravar speak of, I agree with it. I agree with his approach to you have to use force against force. Dr. Beheshti having the same conversation. Behnam Beheshti is right now in a room talking about this. We know about this. Many people, the Islah Talab, are against the war of even khushunat, even a little bit of here and there of, God forbid we, mess up some of this. Inam has. Yes. Okay. I accept, including Arab. But you know what? Here's the problem. If he opened his mouth and he says anything other than this internationally accepted rhetoric of peace and diplomacy, no country in the world is going to accept him. The fact that he is trying to bring, I don't know how much of this is factual, but is that he's trying to turn the IRGC against the regime and bring it to his side. That's to impossible. Overthrow. Because always in a army, in any kind of enforcement, sect of any government, you're going to have deserters. You're going to have people that don't want to support anymore this regime.
They are not government. They are terrorists.
Yes. Occupier. Okay, I know. Occupier. You're right. Eshghal gap. Okay, is that? I have to say these things in Farsi, and the people in the room are speaking English. So I don't want to. But yes, you are right. There are occupiers. But what else can Reza Pahlavi do? He cannot come out and say, okay, all the Cherik, all the partisan, everybody come towards my side. I want to bring these people. He can't. He can't.
What can he do actually?
Look what they're doing to Israel. Look at what they're doing to Israel. You think Israel is the instigator of this nightmare? No, they are not. All you have to do is, I'm not going to get into that because we've been doing that since October 7th for 2 days straight. I don't have to make a case for Israel. But the problem is the international climate currently is on a war path supporting this barbarism called Islam. That's it. We want to die on this hill called Islam. I don't know why. Not one country has ever been successful with Islam. It's like communism. We don't have one example of a success story, but yet we keep trying it everywhere. Poverty, misery, oppression. They're shitholes. Every damn one of them. And the ones that aren't are the ones like Bin Salman and Saudi and UAE, who's trying to westernize and modernize and go forward. But this is the problem we have. This actually makes it harder for Iran. It makes it harder for us, this blind, phony, faux support for a group of people. Half the idiots in the chat couldn't point to on a map. Yeah, I'm talking about you down there. This is where we are. If you ever wonder why, look at the chat. These are Americans. Many of them have never even been to the region. They're confused.
So, Miss, let me just, if you don't mind, I wanted to put a little bit more flesh in what you were saying and also think about the possibilities. First of all, these reformists that they have, at least in two occasions, and I forgot the exact dates, they made a promise that they would make compromises with the regime to at least soften some of the draconian laws and practices by the government in Iran. And they were successful to accomplish some goals, but very quickly, what was promised was actually taken away, and the government behaved even worse than what they were doing before. This happened 2 times, and so the reformists have not been at all successful. I think Islam and progress are contradiction in terms. It's just not going to happen. Then the other fear that the government puts into the public is, if we go away, who is going to take over the country? They are going to be worse than we are. They're going to be communists, and something horrific will come about, and then you're better off to stay with us. Then another fear that they generate is basically they say, look, there could be a potential of civil war in Iran. As probably most of you know, there are many ethnicities in Iran. There are Kurdish, Turkish, Azeris, Loris, you can probably help me, Armenians, Farsi, Arabs. And these ethnicities for thousands of years, probably more than 2,000 years, they have, even though they have different languages and somehow different cultures, they're always connected to Iran as one place. And their claim first is, I am Iranian, then I'm Kurdish, or I'm from Kurdistan. So the fear of a civil war among different ethnicities, it has not happened in the past. Again, there's no guarantee that it will not happen, but I think based on we've seen in the past, it will not happen. Now, the only possibility, the 2 possibilities actually, I think you mentioned about one of them, Stephen. One is, for example, let's say there is an international force, and there's a possibility for Americans, Israelis, French, and British. They have this aerial attack and decapitate some facilities in Iran and effectively make the government incapable of running the business of the government, and people will find some room to protest, to get together and take over and do something. The other possibility is the coup d'etat. Even though you may think that the entire military is committed to the certain regime, there are always people that they seek power, the generals, and leaders in military that they seek power, and possibly a coup d'etat could happen. It's a possibility. No matter how rich they are, I'm talking about the leaders of the military, but this power and more greed will come into play, and there's just possibility for that. So that is the situation we are. There was a serious attempt. Well, I wouldn't say serious. It was a substantial attempt a couple of years ago because of the Mahsa Amini. Am I saying this correctly? Yeah, and her situation and the women, uprising of women and the rest of the people, which many people got killed, tortured, imprisoned, lost their jobs, maimed, and the rest of it. So that has children been poisoned in the schools and the rest of it. There is no limit to the extent that this government, the Islamic Republic of Iran, can do to hurt, damage their own people.
Over 10 hours this guy's been going.
And that's not enough for them. They have to go support Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthi, and terrorize the rest of the region by having these proxy groups to doing their business for them, while the country itself.
He said we're gonna go get some. I think he said we're gonna go get some shovels and stuff and like get the leaves up or stuff like that because those are starting the fires and shit.
That's how you fight those forest fires. You just clear debris. You clear burns.
Yeah, I know. Well, he didn't articulate it well, and therefore, of course, the left took that and ran with it, made it sound like he was a fucking idiot. But anyway, so what I'm trying to say is that it seems like whenever I'm just noticing that if it's not something, I'm talking about world-changing disaster. If it's not COVID, it's something like this. If it's not this, then we're at war with somebody. We were, if you all remember, it was pretty quiet during the time of COVID. Everybody was really worried about, not catching the so-called virus.
Everybody was just getting over Kobe's death.
But there's right now, right? I think they said there is the
large. Almost immediately after COVID had ended, all of a sudden Russia is now in Ukraine's face, and
Congratulations.
it's only something.
So currently, right now, there's the largest fire in history in America happening in Wyoming.
Just start trading it
as we speak, like Wyoming's on fire right
No,
now.
we don't care about Wyoming.
It's not really a big deal. It's not really. It's like 2 people in Wyoming. Nobody cares.
Guys, what the fuck?
It's sticks and horses and grass and trees in Wyoming. That's it.
What the fuck?
It's not even really trees. It's really just hills.
Well, yeah, it's hills.
I like Wyoming because the
Murky
capital of
Creek.
Wyoming is my name, Cheyenne. So shout out to Wyoming.
Well, Cheyenne is a Native American name, which are not. Shut up.
You're not made Native
What
American
was the
either,
deal
you
with
fucking
this
FDA ass nigga.
video that y'all were talking about? I'm looking on X and I'm seeing a lot of different videos of birds in the storm. What are you guys talking about?
What?
Whoever was talking about
Birds in the eye of the storm, they circling and like they kind of like stuck in that pocket.
Yeah. Same
So you
thing
gotta
happened
look
with
at it.
Katrina. Same thing happened with Katrina. A lot of birds that weren't around the area were actually moved to Katrina.
Does anybody have a video of this?
Yeah,
It's an infrared like video picture, and you'll see like the color in the middle, and it's a bunch of.
Videos of the tornadoes. Go on Twitter because there's people driving and like there's like lightning strikes, and then the tornado just comes and just like fucks up the houses next to them as they're driving. The tornado videos are wild right now.
I just want to know when's the sharks gonna start falling from the sky. That's what I'm waiting on. Like I want to see like a Sharknado.
You ain't gonna see that until next year. But look, the reason why they ain't gonna land, is because they won't be able to get back up there. You know what I'm saying? They gonna get ripped the fucking apart, like by the debris and all that other shit. So they know if they come past a certain level, like they fucked. So they trying to figure out how.
Do you guys remember that story of that little girl that was like stuck after, I think it was a hurricane or a mudslide that came after the hurricane? I'm not too sure. But she ended up stuck and they couldn't like take her out, so she ended up like fucking dying there. Y'all remember that? There was a famous picture that was taken of her, where like
That's
her
in
eyes.
South America.
It was in South America, I believe, or Central, and yeah,
Oh
the
yeah,
picture of her.
she had like two black eyes and like.
Yeah, like inside were like
yeah.
bloodshot. You guys remember that?
No.
Yeah, it was over for her. It wasn't.
Yeah, it was. There was nothing they could do. They could only make her comfortable in the water.
Oh shit.
I don't know. I thought of her when all this shit
If
was
she's gonna
popping
die,
up with the
why didn't they
hurricanes.
just? If there was no way to do anything, why didn't they just kill her? And
Because that's cruel and unusual punishment, maybe? I don't know.
not.
They believe in
It
pro-life.
was in Colombia. That's what it was.
Colombia.
It's a really beautiful picture of her. Like that's the crazy thing, right? Because it's
Yeah, she died like a couple hours after that picture.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
But it's scary because like.
And her eyes look like that because I think sepsis was already setting in, like infection and all that.
And there ain't no guy that's going to go kill a child.
Yeah, it was pretty sad. Her name was Omaira Sanchez. She was 13 years old. Now that I look at it.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Well, Nathan, it looks like it's too late for you.
How's like Finley and Melissa? Because they're like out there.
Word.
Melissa,
Has anybody heard
should
from
be
Finley?
good. Melissa,
That's why he's not here. That's right. He's not in the room anymore.
But he was in
probably
here
prepping.
crashing out earlier, so he cool. Like,
Well, now you got 3 million right now in 5 different states. You're jumping up to about 10 million in an hour or so that will be without power.
I trust that no one will allow this to get back to concrete, but has anyone seen him today? He's not in the area, right?
Oh.
I saw him today.
Good question.
Oh, you did see him?
oh,
Yeah,
y'all
he's
some
getting
fucked up
phenomenal.
motherfuckers, boy.
He hasn't been here all day.
No,
He was in this. He was in.
know that I care, so.
Which room was he in?
They talking about land.
No, they not.
No, land is New Orleans.
Yes, they is.
Land is not New
Hey,
Orleans.
Damn, what?
Louisiana or some shit.
No, he's
Anyway, I always thought that concrete, or Texas, right? I always thought that concrete was like Pennsylvania.
That nigga sound like he's from Louisiana.
Who? Texas? I mean, not concrete. No. Concrete sounds like he's straight out of Pittsburgh somewhere.
Oh, y'all
I know who knows where he is at.
Oh, y'all miss concrete. Oh.
Barbara, where's concrete at? You know what state concrete is.
No, I don't. I don't know nothing about that man. I got other fish to fry at this moment.
Nah.
Concrete is
I'm
not
talking about that
my
fish you burned up. That you left on the stove. What state they in?
Listen, that's y'all. That's your nigga. If you wanted to know where the fuck concrete been at, you ping him in here. Y'all like to.
I'm gonna get it from you.
Whenever
Have you guys?
Whenever concrete is not acting a fool, booty clapping, crashing out, acting like a fool, y'all just want this nigga in here for y'all fucking entertainment because he's the Nene Leaks of Clubhouse, and so now he's not playing the Sambo of the fucking room. Now y'all miss him? Fuck out of here.
No, I don't.
No, it's not that. It's just.
Have you
I
guys?
think if he's not here, if anybody can reach out to him, you should. If you can't, don't worry about it.
He's
if you see him,
taking a
say
break
what's
from
up.
chillism. Like,
It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. Can we get back to whatever we were talking about before
yeah, go ahead
anybody
for
gave a
that.
shit?
I was gonna say, have you guys
Yeah, I
seen
wanted to
little?
tell some more about them birds. But
Have
go
you
ahead.
seen Little Devel on
Yeah, I want to
social
talk
media?
more about those sharks.
Well, there you go. Somebody picked
Dude, sorry, little. So hold on, wait. Hold on, wait, you guys.
Don't stop.
Yo, that's crazy.
Don't
Who
stop.
paid him? Who paid him in? Who paid him in?
Who? I need to know. Let's go. Me and it. Let's go.
Concrete, Guava was talking massive shit about you, like massive shit.
Well, what's new though? My goodness.
Nathan was crying though. To be fair, Nathan was like actually the heart snob in tissues. He thought you were in Florida getting hit by milk right now. So he was like weeping. He said,
Oh my god. Yeah, he said he even thought about calling all the Starbucks in the local area to see if his boy Concrete was alright, man. Cause man.
Alright, well now he's here. He can booty clap. He getting active full. Bamboo
Yo,
out.
Guava is my girl. Guava, I'm so upset. You weren't on. I need you. Listen, I needed a laugh so hard the other day. She had me literally. I don't laugh as hard. Like I am just running around the room screaming. It was so amazing. I have not gotten that level of comedic relief in so long. Beautiful.
Well, if you
Can
want
you go scissor each other in the back or something? Just do it. Don't do it on stage.
This room has
Florida,
been very
there's been
stuffy.
there's 19 confirmed touchdowns of tornadoes and 116 warnings currently issued right now.
Jesus Christ.
19. Yeah.
Master, these rooms been stuffy, so that's why I can't come in and do my
Right.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Not that anybody follows him like that. I was trying to say little Duval.
What you say? Yeah, I did see Brad.
Yes, so
I
he
wanted to
jumped.
tell Brad though, Miss Stiffa, real quick. I saw the over/under days without power. The betting line for this hurricane is 13 and a half days.
That would be epic. That would be epic with that. Like Florida's got the best response. I mean, DeSantis and the Floridians, they got it down pat. I mean, better than any other state and any other place.
I think 13 and a half days would be a long time for Florida to be without power. I think it's probably going to be closer to 6 to 7 at most.
Listen, God is cleaning up. He said, listen, it's time to clean up. He's starting with Florida. So now they cleaning up. He's down there cleaning up.
But how far behind this one is the other one you were saying?
It's that the other one should be. They said it's 7 days out, but it's already formed as of yesterday, and they've named it 18. So as soon as this one's finished, I don't think they're gonna go in and fix anything. They're gonna ride it out till the next one.
You
They
said
need to give these hurricanes. They need to give these hurricanes legit names, like Hurricane Hills.
So there's this like who made the hurricane, which would be as
Honeybee, there was no way to evacuate. I've already done 3 live streams.
Hurricane
There's millions that couldn't evacuate.
Is the other one coming from out in the Atlantic Ocean, or is it another one from the Gulf?
Hopefully it doesn't go out.
Oh, that's a good question. They should decide whether they're gonna name it after a slave when it comes to the Atlantic or Mexican when they come out of the fucking Gulf. Hey yo, Florida, sometimes you have some good fucking ideas, bro.
Okay, well I saw it.
I wonder why the hurricane ain't hitting Miami. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
I thought that was a hell of a dream.
Miami needs to go.
Oh man.
No, we had tornadoes, man.
They need to
It's
watch
so
out.
You can see this window outside.
no tornadoes in Florida. Like, South Florida. I'm talking about car swept over.
We should name storms after
Why can't we name them after Hurricane Shabaka? Why we can't name it after Hurricane Shabaka?
Keandre.
Why can't we do that? We should name it after an immigrant.
Yeah, look, listen, all the ones that got like Hurricane Katrina. Now we know, you know what I'm saying? We know what that was. Yeah, that was a memorable hurricane. Give it a black name, you'll remember it.
Y'all know y'all gonna die. They name it Hurricane Monica. If you hear anything called Hurricane Monica with an uppercase K, you are bound to be down.
Nah.
Now you're gonna say the N word. Not say it right. You're gonna say the N word because the K is for the N word.
Yeah. Anything that's Hurricane Monica, you might as well evacuate immediately.
I'm gonna go through Hurricane Monica one day, and the whole time you're gonna hear the wind whispering.
He already got put through Hurricane Monica. first of my dog, but she got enough acting.
I don't know why it just makes me so uncomfortable to hear white people use the N-word. I don't know.
You know what it is, bro? It's the joy in his voice when he says it. That's the thing. That's the part about
You
it.
might as well just add like the cracking whip.
It was a joke.
You know?
You're gonna go through a Hurricane Monica and you're gonna hear the wind whisper.
Listen, no matter how much you say it's a joke, you can hear like the joy you get from saying it.
No, I was whispering.
But I don't know, it's only white people when they do it though. Like normal Spanish, when he does it, it doesn't feel that way.
In the context of a joke, the word was the punchline, right? Like I said, you're gonna go through a Hurricane Monica and you're gonna hear the wind whisper the whole time.
But as of right
If it's
now,
Hurricane Monica, you're gonna hear
for an evacuation general.
Should we assume that the SM-3s were used by
There you go.
to shoot down the
No, that's the rat.
No,
that's a shit. Monica. Monica went to Monica calls it the flag slur. I'm not gonna fucking do that.
Wait, let the white man fight over who knows the white woman.
If it hits, it hits. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
operation against Hamas. According to the
I'm not gonna fucking censor my speech.
I'm not gonna lie.
Joe,
Monica,
for the sake of
Monica's
sorry.
That pussy has got you all like wrapped around its wrist. Everybody's always focused on Monica. What?
You know, Monica packed up a lot of these dudes. That's what it was.
Listen, Monica, I can never understand see Monica the way that the rest of us does. I'm not trying to convince you.
Well, but I've been around.
He's saying
Monica packed up Florida man.
Monica, I've been around for.
No, she did kind of pack it up. And no disrespect, no
Aware
disrespect.
of everything. I just choose to like let things go. Every day, a brand new day. I have fought with almost everybody on this team. Brad, Ian, Monte, Melissa, and almost Florida and I cuss each other out. And the next day we just don't give a.
You do have an issue with Monica. You do have an issue. Don't do that.
Then what is it? Hold on, let her define what it is. What is it?
there's nothing to divine. I don't have an issue with her.
Okay, yeah, it is.
I have an issue with not the only person I got an issue with is Tyler. And I don't really got an issue with her. So Tyler are not even
And Monica. At least the thing about Monica is you don't understand Monica. And that puzzles you.
I forgot on my list the Sandras. We were at war for a while. I got her ass clipped off this app.
Nah, you pick on concrete picks on you. You pick on Monica because she bothers you.
well, like the bear until the bear pushes back. But I wasn't even like it's not no. Right?
You want that juice right there.
The thing I do with Monica is not on the same level as Brad. Monica follows me. Like we don't have no issues. She just annoying sometimes, and I like to call out her body. And she likes to reach it when it comes to race. That's it. No, I know.
So we can pretend like you didn't spin the whole narrative the other day.
Yeah, because you wanted to put that narrative out there. Just like how you put the narrative out there that she's backing up. And I addressed her with her. She ran. And I let it go.
Wait, Nicholas, I don't think we've ever had an issue at all.
I mean, we got into so there was a room full of like, it was like a year and a half ago, where I thought you were like accidentally calling the gays racist, but you weren't until I was going to like.
No, that's not an issue to me. That's not an issue if I wasn't doing something you don't know.
Yeah, I mean, but it wasn't.
No, it was a real fight.
No,
Well, listen.
it wasn't about that. I misunderstood her. It was my fault. I was literally fighting with my.
Well, Nicholas, you said that you and I cursed
Yo, that's crazy.
that we are fine. That's because we're men, not because you have an issue with people.
That's true. You think that this is a woman?
I also had an issue with Louis. I think it's private.
During the Punisher fight scene between Frank Castle and the Russian, Thomas Jane accidentally stabbed Kevin Nash with a real knife instead of a prop one. Nash didn't immediately react, which surprised Jane. Despite being actually stabbed, Diesel continued the scene without complaint. He mentioned the injury afterward, showing his professionalism and resilience. During the Punisher fight scene between Frank Castle and the Russian, Thomas Jane accidentally stabbed Kevin Nash with a real knife instead of a prop one.
No, it was Adam. And then he got in trouble because he used his he used another phone or something like that, or another number or something. And then they like permanent his account because they said he dodged a front of line.
Adam
First off, my fight with Louis happened like what, 2 months ago?
This is what happens when you capture way too many slaves.
He hasn't been put for a minute now. He's been kidnapped. What's it been? At least a month now.
You know, sometimes I wonder, like, we didn't clip this for the best in my life. You know how much time I spent on this goddamn fucking app? If I just could log on, maybe I could do a.
Plus, I don't want to clip you. I want to just constantly go at you. I want to go at you until you like all off.
See, but I'm
Wait, what?
I don't think he means it here.
Alright, I'm gonna keep it sweet. Just a final.
I always
I think you're the only one with kids.
He talking about midterms. He talking about midterms.
to listen to this.
Midterms aren't until December.
In the
No, that's your end.
Why wouldn't you?
No,
If you don't
I
believe
guess if he doing a semester.
Or trimester. Let's use more on the time.
Like, what are you talking about, bro?
Lion kids ain't college.
Who's that lion is closed?
Lion kids ain't college. Lion kids ain't college. Lion kids ain't college.
Alright, so Lion, we are in October, high school.
Right. Right. Doesn't school start in August? August, September, October is midpoint, and November, December is year end. That's the
Lion, what are you talking about? Lion fucking explain it, Jesus Christ.
They all know. Alright, anyway, the point is,
Not this fucking faggot.
oh god.
Go ahead, Lion.
But anyway, I'm proud to say that my oldest
See, that's not good. If you were Asian, you would be mad. That should be 100%. If you were Asian, why are we settling for 92? Why are we
talking about this
below
like it's a fight? I think, lady, you're the mother. You actually probably know what test this was. It wasn't a final.
Bro, that's sexy.
You know the father doesn't even know, bro. You ask the father, hey, what's the
I'm
kid's
asking this
line?
guy, like, he has a clue what's going on in his kid's
the black
He's got a text message and he saw 92 tests. He's like,
that was anti-black. That was a black man can also be involved in his family.
Give it to him.
I mean, what?
It wasn't a fight.
Samoa, what? You say? Am I in the Matrix? Maybe I'm in the fucking Matrix.
Yeah, you are. Well, so you took off the amount of money he owed you for the lawnmower, right? What the fuck is that?
$92
You gotta call your shot. Alright.
You're not making your son mow the lawn with his teeth?
Well, I'm from, we do it with scissors, bro.
Scissors, it's a knife.
This guy.
He will not accept the now.
Nice. That's always a very good threat.
Right. So I'm saying that that's one of these schools that you don't come in there and take shits and you gotta sit there and pull the curtain, pull curtain and everything.
So wait, is he a senior or what?
Come on, Peter, let's.
No, freshman. So, and he's also on the football team. So I said to him, okay, so what is it? What's going on? He says, well, I got a giant exam. I said, what about the AP class? He goes, about that. I said, what'd you get? He says, I got a 74 on the AP classes.
Bring out the belt.
I said, okay. Yeah, right.
A 74? That's not acceptable. That's not 100%.
That's not. I know.
He's definitely not in AP. You're definitely not in AP English.
What are you talking about? Me?
No, Lion.
No, he was talking about you. Don't run.
Right? I mean, I was a 4.0 student, so I was really good.
But 4.0, he's in 100%.
Most gays and women are good at school. That's what
Anyway, the DNA, the gays are good at school.